other people in the room. So naturally, the mediator or mediators are going to be in the room. The parties or people who are in direct conflict, and that could be 2 people, that could be 50 people. There's group mediation as well. Some of those group mediation settings could be business, could be a community mediation, that kind of format. Who else should be in the room? So there are some people who have to be in the room. So one of the first groups of people that need to be in the room is an interpreter or interpreters. So if people have language needs with English, in our case, in the US, an interpreter is crucial. It's not something that is optional, especially if you want to have a legitimate and equitable or fair mediation. So generally speaking, interpreters in the court system are assigned, hopefully identified sooner than later. In a non-court setting, it would be up to the mediator to suss out language skills and if there needs to be an interpreter. When there's an interpreter in the room, you need to slow down because generally speaking, they're word-for-word interpreters, and so you need to give them a chance to make sure everything is conveyed to the party from the very introduction to reviewing the final document, and they're also included in the court proceedings as well, so every step of the way, an interpreter. Even if people are able to speak everyday English, it's a really good check to see about jargon or more technical things. Sometimes that comes up in mediation, often it comes up in mediation. So it's really just making sure that they have the information they need to understand, and an interpreter does that. Other people that need to be in the room, if there are attorneys hired involved, they should be in the room. So as a mediator, ethically speaking, you don't talk to parties who are represented by attorneys without the attorneys. If you do, it's small talk. It's never substantive, meaning it's not about the matter or the conflict. It is about the weather or their children, okay? And so attorneys need to be in the room. So that's another group of people who need to be in there. Also, there might be some professional support people who need to be in the room. This might be abuse advocates. It might be people from the Department of Health and Human Services. Support people who are professionals need to be in the room, just like attorneys. They carry an expertise about what could be the conflict, and so they're going to be in the room at least for those portions of the mediation. Other people who could be in the room are family or friends as support people. Generally speaking, children are not in the room unless it's a mediation that involves maybe a teenage kiddo and some parents. There's those type of mediations. That would maybe be the exception, but children, generally speaking, are not in the mediation room. Developmentally, it's just not a place where they should be. And so let's get back to those family or support people. So some mediators have different rules. Some mediation programs have different rules about who can be in the room. What I do is I check in with the parties if it's someone who is beyond that. It's also my discretion as the mediator to invite people into the room or excuse people from the room. It's really hard to backtrack and kick people out. And so if someone comes into the mediation room that I didn't necessarily invite, in the format that the program that I'm working with, which is the Family Matters Cadres Mediation, we actually start in separate rooms and then possibly come together if the conditions are right. And so if someone walks in with somebody else, I introduce myself, I get their name, and so I let them know, and I let everybody else know, the parties especially, that that person can join in for that initial session. But if the parties end up getting together, right, then that person is going to need to leave. I also let people know pretty clearly that if they need to go out and talk to that support person, check in, they can do that, Okay, and sometimes these support people can be really helpful to your mediations. Sometimes they're in the room and they're really grounding and they help calm people down, they help reality check. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes it's somebody who, almost like gasoline to a flame, is making the situation really hard to mediate because of some of the things that they're bringing in. They're helping to pull that person into the weeds. But I think that's a chance you take, and you have to follow the protocol that your program has. And so other people in the room, it's an important thing to know about and to discern as a mediator who should be in there.